I call the Honourable Louise Upston.
Thank you, Mr Chair. It's my pleasure to speak for a few minutes in this estimates appropriations debate on the Government's tertiary education budget for 2016. And unlike the member before me, I think we're proud to have a whole range of initiatives that support learners throughout their lifetime. My colleague, Minister Parata, will talk about the primary and secondary sector, but I want to focus my comments, Mr Chair, on tertiary education, because this budget alone, we have seen an investment of $265.5 million over 4 years in tertiary education. And that is part of what we've called in an umbrella our Innovation New Zealand package, which is worth $761 million. Mr Chair, I wanted to just talk about a couple of them, because the member before me talked really unfortunately about a group of learners in New Zealand that do have challenges. We recognise that. I think one of the fantastic initiatives of this government is the Māori and Pacifica Trades Training. We've drawn down $9.6 million put aside for the budget last year to provide additional places, 2,500 young Māori and Pacifica learners in Māori and Pacific Trades Training. So some of these learners, Mr Chair, haven't done well in the compulsory sector, but unlike that member prior, we have absolutely not left them on the side of the road. We have made sure that there are educational opportunities that fit the range of learners across the spectrum in New Zealand, and I think this is a particularly great initiative that is really delivering not just jobs, Mr Chair, but careers. And there was a young Māori gentleman that I had the opportunity to meet in South Auckland a couple of months ago, and it was clear to me the difference that this government has made to his life and his future by setting him up for a career, not just writing him off, not just saying any job is good enough, but actually putting him into a position where he has a lifelong rewarding career that supports him and his family. And Mr Chair, that's what I'm proud of as a minister in this government. And unlike the member previously, we're also looking at foundation education at levels 1 and 2 that are fees-free for eligible learners from 2017. It's $14.6 million over 4 years. So I absolutely refute the comments that the Speaker before me made, Mr Chair, because this is very directly aimed at second chance learners to gain the very basic skills that they need to progress into higher study or to gain employment. If we also look at another challenge, unfortunately something that was left and we've inherited from the former government around literacy and numeracy challenges. But again, have we left a large group of New Zealanders unable to cope in our modern workplaces? No. We have said we will focus on adult literacy and numeracy. In fact, New Zealand ranks 4th in the OECD now in adult literacy, which is a lift. And we are continuing to fund more places for those who are in employment and who need additional assistance. But I want to speak, Mr Chair, about apprentices. So in Budget 2016, there's an additional $14.4 million over 4 years to meet what we know very clearly is an increasing demand for apprentices. And up and down this country, talking to learners, talking to families, talking to employers, and talking to industry training organisations, they are clear about the fact that this is a government that is supporting those to learn as they earn with apprenticeship schemes in a whole range of different areas. And I thought it was useful, Mr Chair, just to give you a bit of a snapshot. If we look 20 years ago, in 1992, there were only 16,000 people in industry training, and of course we had no industry training organisations. So fast forward 20 years, there were almost last year 136,000 trainees and 11 fantastic industry training organisations that support them. So we've seen significant improvements in terms of learning outcomes, which I think is really important. We've also seen an increase under our government in completion rates up to 72%. And what we're looking at very specifically is the occupation and areas in New Zealand clearly where there's high demand. So we had a couple of examples recently. One, of course, is primary industries. And one of the figures that I'm sure lots of New Zealanders aren't aware of is based on the industry really looking at its future capacity and capability needs, along with the Ministry of Primary Industries. They have projected the requirement for an extra 50,000 roles, Mr Chair.
The Honourable Louise Upston.
An extra 50,000 roles new roles between now and 2025. I think the real challenge, though, Mr Chair, is there are some that think the majority of those 50,000 jobs are people pulling on gumboots each day and working on farm. But actually, no, they are requiring even higher levels of qualification and skills that our government is committed to ensuring that that industry receives. So whether it's environmental engineers, whether it's soil scientists, whether it's people who are ready to repair robotic milking machines, geneticists, pasture managers. Mr Chair, primary industries alone has a significant requirement, and they're working very closely with the Tertiary Education Commission to ensure that we support them in that role. Construction, of course, I couldn't talk about skills opportunities if I didn't talk about construction, Mr Chair, because we know clearly we're going to need an extra 10% of the current people employed in construction to grow even further. So if we look, Mr Chair, at specific areas in Canterbury, I'm really proud of how the government responded to Canterbury to ensure they had the construction workforce they required. One of those areas was, of course, quadrupling the number of women working in construction over a 2-year period, which I've not seen replicated anywhere in the world. And that's the sort of thing that we're now looking at saying, right, so if we're looking at South Auckland, they've got a significant building program there. How do we make sure that young New Zealanders who live and have been educated in South Auckland are first in line for those jobs? And that's what this government's committed to, and that's what we are doing. So if we look at part of the mix, Mr Chair, is ensuring that young people have good tools to enable to connect them with where those opportunities are. So we've seen the design of the vocational pathways, the Occupational Outlook app, which means you can very quickly have a look at what are the career opportunities, what's the demand, what's the pay, what's the training, how long will it cost, what will it cost. And recently, we've also launched the Find My Path, which is another tool to help young people, to support them and how they navigate, very much aligned with where the opportunities are, which I think is fantastic. In addition to that, of course, science, technology, engineering and maths, the STEM subjects continue to be areas that we are focused on, whether it's more funding into E2E, which is the engineering workforce support, whether it's in science with funding things like the Nation of Curious Minds. It's all about making sure that we as a country are growing our own, supporting them with the skills they need in the industries that are high growth, high demand and high wages, through a whole range of different initiatives, whether it's Callaghan Innovations, Future and Tech, or TeachLink, or the ICT grad schools, which we have launched 3, again, very, very closely connected to industry. This is a government committed to ensuring that we are delivering the young people who have the skills and attributes and capabilities that our employers have been telling us they need, and we're investing exactly in those spaces. But Mr Chair, I'm also proud of the regional growth study and the work with the program called GROW. And that is focused very much on a group of young people who are not in education, employment or training in Kaikohi. It's a 12-month project that's very much focused on those that previously, perhaps the member before me would have been quite happy just to leave to do nothing. But we have worked really intensively over a 12-month period. And Mr Chair, I can't tell you how amazing it is to meet those young people who have never, ever gone to a job interview, let alone held down their very first job, bought their very first pay packet home, and that was the pay packet that housed and fed their family. And that is the very pointy edge of what this government is doing. We are tackling the harder young people to educate and employ. We are setting them up for a lifetime of opportunity and a lifetime of success. We are unwilling to leave young people behind. And equally, we are also focused on ensuring older New Zealanders, in terms of their training opportunities, are also ensuring that they are ready for a changing workforce. And we've seen significant growth, Mr Chair, in adult apprentices. which is probably not something that the opposition would dare to focus on. But if you look at the over 35s, a 17% increase on the numbers last year in apprentices and a 25% increase on those aged 55 and above. So we are training from one end of the scale to the other, Mr Chair.
I call Mojo Mathers.